Sravan, thank you so much for joining us in this next edition of our Fire Up series, series of startup founder conversations around things that each startup has figured out. I mean, every startup has something that they've already figured out that's worth sharing with other startups and founders. So that's been the focus of this series, and we've already done about 50. And so thank you, Sravan, for joining us today. We're going to be discussing your foray into AI, and how does how does like emerging technology, a new technology area, kind of help to find the right use case, right? More of a case study in terms of how you applied AI and blockchain to EV. I think every opportunity starts with discovering a possibility first, and then making that initial definition of what to build, and then building the prototype. That's where it starts. So we're just going to look at that aspect in terms of what you did with EV. So Sravan, thank you so much for joining us. And just to get started, if you can, in a couple of minutes, narrate your journey with Spaikaven. That will be a great context for the conversation.
Absolutely. And thank you, Ramesh, for actually inviting me. And obviously, my other team members could not join since obviously they were tied up in other initiatives. But nevertheless, thank you once again. And I would like to also focus upon certain changes which we made since the COVID situation happened, if that is of help for the broader audience, right? And because, anyway, I'll speak about that also in detail. We started the journey in 2018, as some of you guys, Ramesh and others, are aware, in CIE. And predominantly at that time in 2018, when we started the journey, and when we were incubated in CIE, we looked at using AI and blockchain predominantly in the hospitality industry. Okay, when I say hospitality industry, we were looking mainly at the hotel industry, how anything value add can be done using AI, especially to increase the sales of hotels on channels which are non-OTA related. When I say non-OTA related, we know that Make My Trip, Clear Trip, all these are OTAs on which the hotels are predominantly dependent on for their sales. So we said, hey, can we actually look at improving the sales on their website, or maybe because all these hotels have the website, can we empower them and make them AI-driven websites? And similarly, can we actually introduce important elements such as customer retention and loyalty, which could be interoperable across hotels? That was initially the focus when we started in 2018. And we started off with that journey till 2019. Okay, when I say 2019, till June or July. And then after 1 year of doing that, and of course, one thing which I can tell you, what has given us a lot of strength in actually surviving from 2018 is, apart from our product focus, which we keep working on, is also the focus on our services. Okay. So both myself and my co-founder Vinayak, and now we have another co-founder Abhishek, we always have made sure that we keep the ball rolling and survive and ensure that the team is being there by also doing services in AI and blockchain areas. So even though we were pursuing from 2018 to 2019 in this space of AI for the hospitality industry, we simultaneously did a lot of services in the education sector. We did a lot of services for financial services, and that was till August 2019, both in the AI and the blockchain space. August 2019, we said like, hey, this product doesn't seem to be going anywhere because we had 1 year, and as entrepreneurs, we need to always have this strategy where if something does not work for you for 1 year, for whatever be the reason, maybe you're not there in the correct market, because we felt probably Indian market was not the correct one. Number two, we also felt like, hey, maybe the kind of buy-in which you are requiring and the kind of participation which you are looking from the hotel industry or the hotel participants, individual 3-star hotels or 2-star hotels, standalone hotels, is not coming. So we said, let us actually change the gears a bit over here, and let us look at trends or things where we can utilize our skills on the product side and be part of an industry which actually is on the upward trend. So we went after some basic benchmarks or rules, which I'm sure many entrepreneurs follow. One rule which we said like, hey, which is that industry which is probably right now very in the initial stages, fragmented, and does not have a large player making a great impact over there. So we were looking at that as one of the benchmark to look at possible areas where we can utilize the skills. Second benchmark rule which we used is like, hey, what are the areas where there is a considerable amount of regulatory push at least in the markets where we want to operate from. And third, what are the markets which we want to operate in? So we made a conscious choice in August 2019 that, hey, let's look at the Indian market for what are we said and done. We will look at a global idea, but it should be something which can substantiate itself in the Indian market. And whatever idea which we are going after should have considerable amount of regulatory push. And three, it should be a place where there is no clear advantage for a large player at this stage. Even if the large player comes in with a lot of money, he should not have a clear advantage. Those were our ways of looking at identifying a new opportunity, because we felt that the product idea which we were doing was not really working out. And when we looked at this framework of ours, I'm not sure if this is the right framework, but we applied this. We came across several ideas. Okay, one idea which we came across was in the podcast space, but of course we felt that was not something which, again, we are not so well tuned to it. Another area which we felt was very good, very much in tune, was the entire electric mobility space. Okay, if you look at the electric mobility space, which we identified and pursued a bit deeper, is one, because we saw that there are a lot of electric vehicle manufacturers, be it the people who are well funded like Ather Energy to large brands like Bajaj, but there is also a lot of mid-sized players like Ampere, Pure EV, who are predominantly operating in the electric two-wheeler space. At the same time, electric mobility has not really taken off, not just taken off in the two-wheeler space, it has taken off to a large extent in the three-wheeler space as well. So if you look at the three-wheeler space, interestingly, we saw a very good number over there. We saw that if you look at the e-rickshaw market, okay, I don't know how many of you guys have been to Delhi or the northern side of the country, there are close to around 15 lakh e-rickshaws as per a Google search, but people in the industry keep saying there are probably 24 to 30 lakhs of e-rickshaws out there. And these are growing every month at a rate of 15%. And this is a highly fragmented market. There are close to around 400 electric vehicle e-rickshaw manufacturers. And most of the e-rickshaws, the takeoff has happened not because of regulatory support, but the takeoff has happened for the business reasons. The business economics of running an e-rickshaw are much more sound than actually someone who's driving a cycle rickshaw in a tier 2 or tier 3 town, or maybe even much better than a diesel auto rickshaw or whatever the equivalent usage is. So he said, hey, that seems to be a segment which is fragmented. Again, no large player, 400 electric vehicle manufacturers. So fragmented again. And at the same time, we look like, hey, obviously we're not vehicle manufacturers. We're not possibly battery manufacturers. We are IT guys. We are very strong business guys. And we said, let's look at the battery guys. So again, we saw that most of the battery guys, the cells are coming from China. People are assembling the batteries over here and they're selling it. And there is something known as a battery management system, which again, they have taken up from folks predominantly. Most of them do not have their own, maybe barring a few like Ather Energy who are claiming that they're developed their own. Most of them are using the standalone products which are coming from China. And the configuring of the BMS, we looked at it and it was very interesting. It was more an analytical challenge, like how you actually need to capture data on the charging cycles of the battery. You need to capture data on the discharging cycles of the battery and figure out how the BMS can be configured to lengthen the life cycle of the battery, as well lengthen the usage of the battery. In other words, you are, if you look at it, it's a standard thing. If you look at the e-rickshaw segment, or if you look at the electric scooter segment, because both these segments, we are seeing a lot of promise in the B2B space. When I say B2B space, it's not like people like you, me, or Ramesh, who are going to use an electric scooter to drive around. It's going to be the delivery partners, maybe the Zomato delivery partners, could be the big basket delivery partners when it comes to two-wheelers. When it comes to three-wheelers, it could be these fragmented e-rickshaw guys who are anyway already taken off. They just need to shift from a unstable lead-acid battery source to a stable lithium-ion battery source. Or it could be the cargo segment, okay, the three-wheeler cargo segment, which last mile delivery happens, where there is a big use case for EVs, because clearly the cost economics is very much in favor of EVs.
But isn't the cargo a little bit more organized than the local kind of e-rickshaw segment?
Absolutely, Ramesh. It's actually a lot more organized. But if you look
so
at
where was your value proposition? So when you said like, okay, you're looking at emerging technology, like if you look at the 400 e-rickshaw manufacturers, I mean, they're very, very small scale kind of a fabrication shop type manufacturers from, right? They put a frame together, like maybe use some off the shelf parts, pull it together and then put an electric motor, and it's a very basic design. Now, their appreciation of engineering or design also is probably not so great. They're fabricators. They pick whatever they could find and fabricate it. or disassembled another cycle rickshaw, e-rickshaw, and fabricated. So how do you go and sell this whole concept of using some emerging technology? What is the pull that you kind of offer them?
Absolutely. And the pull is actually, I'll tell you, just give me 2 minutes, Ramesh. Like if you look from the pull from the customer side, be it the two-wheeler segment, be it the e-rickshaw guys, or be it even the three-wheeler cargo segment, they understand that, hey, electric vehicle is more cheaper, but they're not adopting it because of three reasons. The number one reason is they're not sure about the technology. They believe that the technology is very unreliable as compared to a comparable IC engine technology, number one. Two, they also believe that, hey, this is much more expensive upfront. So do I need to actually put in that extra money upfront to buy some new technology which may not really work? Three, they have something known as range anxiety. Okay, like if you take a typical Zomato delivery partner, he does close to 90 to 120 kilometers in a day, and a scooter with a battery probably will give him only 55 to 60 kilometers. So these are three areas if you look at it from the electric vehicle usage perspective. And our customers are not the electric vehicle manufacturers; they are our partners. Like if you say like, hey, anyone who makes the e-rickshaw is not a customer, is a partner. Someone who makes the electric scooter like Ather will be a partner. But our customer is the Zomato delivery partner, the Big Basket delivery partner, because these are contractual people who work with Zomato, Big Basket. Our partners will also be the fleet operators who actually cater to Amazon, Big Basket in delivering the last mile goods. And our
So to them,
customers,
you were selling the subsystems, or you were selling more than a subsystem? What were you selling to these, like say the
we have
Zomato delivery
started
partner?
doing it, Ramesh. I think the value proposition is actually evolving and changing because since August we started. Predominantly, we own the batteries, we own the charging stations. Okay. So if you look at something like let's take the example of a Zomato delivery partner, because that's an easy example to understand from. If you take the cost of a vehicle, electric vehicle, probably it will be something like 76 to 80,000, okay, which is much more expensive than an equivalent petrol vehicle, which could be at 45,000. So we decouple the vehicle into two parts. One is the non-battery component and the battery component. The battery component is completely owned by us, managed by us, whereas the non-battery part is owned by the delivery partner, and obviously he gets an EMI and he starts paying the EMI. Let's assume a 2 or 3 year time frame at a 20% rate, he could be paying an EMI of 2,000 rupees per month. Now the battery part, why we own and why it makes sense for us to own. Because if you look at it, this guy, as I mentioned, the Zomato delivery partner, he needs to reach a range of 100 kilometers and there's only 50. So the tie-up with Zomato is we actually set up charging cum swapping station at Zomato Cloud Kitchens. Okay, that will also be owned by us. And now these assets, okay, one you might say, hey, this is becoming asset heavy. Why should you do it? So we actually offer these assets as subscription basis, because if you look at the entire petrol business, right, petrol IC engine business, the moment the Zomato delivery partner wants to fill up petrol, he goes to a petrol pump, he fills some the petrol and goes in. So the behavior should be something very similar. Why should he pay that upfront cost for the battery or the ecosystem? So we actually have come up with a pricing where we allow him to charge the battery at his home. If required, he can actually change the battery at the swapping station, which is coming up at a cloud kitchen or a warehouse. And in a day, he might actually do 2 swaps. And both these swaps will happen without him actually having to wait at all. It will be in a fraction of 5 minutes cost. And when it comes to charging the battery, it's like 4 hours. So he can actually do 1 charge at his home, but probably if he needs 2 more charges, he can completely do it at a swap station. So one is his convenience, and it's going to be like a prepaid system for him. Like if he wants to use 10 battery cycles up front, right? Instead of him buying the battery or whatever, he buys it's just like your Tata Sky prepaid coupon. So you actually go ahead and say like, hey, I want to buy 10 cycles. After he consumes that, he again has to put in money, again he recharges. And all this is possible because the batteries are IoT enabled, turned off and turned on using IoT, number one. Number two, all this is also possible because the way the life of the battery is going to be lengthened. The charging data, okay, the charging data could be on 16 different CAN bus parameters. The discharging data could again be on different parameters. These are parameters like voltage, current, temperature, very nicely coming out structured data on which you can actually do a lot of predictive analytics and also determine the value of the battery. Now, why is determining the value of the battery important? Because if you determine the value of the battery really well, if this guy wants to go to the system after 1 year, since you put a lock-in of 1 year of subscription, he can, when he goes out, what kind of battery he can actually be offered. right? And similarly, if you look at these batteries, right, any lithium ion battery which actually goes in, EV is not the only use for the battery. There is a secondary market of valuation which is very much important. Like we can sell these batteries to solar guys for them to actually store energy of solar energy in the day and actually give back energy in the night. And this is actually picking up in the US and Australia. It would have picked up in India too, but of course the solar rate which the government is giving to companies to generating power is pretty low. So probably in India it may not kick off. But that's not the only usage. Like if you look at it from a valuation perspective, if you come up from a valuation of the battery which is very properly assigned by you, right? And this data is shared by you and let's say the delivery partner, and maybe even there's another ecosystem player like a
how does the delivery partner benefit from the battery information? Because for them, it's only the service, right? I mean, so long as battery is available, we are okay with it. So I think the data is useful for you to ensure kind of optimal use of batteries and kind of you replace them at the right time and all that, right? Its efficiency of battery functioning now is with you because you're managing the batteries. How does it help the delivery partners?
Okay. The way it helps the delivery partners is, like as I rightly mentioned, after 1 year, these delivery partners are not someone who's attached to Zomato for life. In fact, they're contractors, and the way the agreement is done between Zomato and these people is Zomato is collecting their commission from hotels and passing it on to them. So obviously we put in a lock-in and he wants to come out of the lock-in after 10 months or 1 year, whatever be the period. Okay. When he comes out of the lock-in, he says like, hey, I want to come out of this. I don't want to be a delivery partner anymore. Probably I got a job as a software engineer somewhere, but I want to use this electric vehicle the way it is, right? So I want a battery of 100% SOC. Then what is the price? If I right now, as per my usage for 1 year, depending on the cycle which I do, that battery which I need to give him as per his usage, let's say assume we start with a brand new battery, will be at 85% SOC. So determining the SOC level of the battery and saying that, hey, now if you take it as per your usage, you deserve 85% SOC battery and the price of this is going to be this much. And 3, let's say he says, I don't want this battery, I don't want anything. You buy this battery from me and probably you can figure out whom to sell it out. Again, that value is going to be important. And this needs to be driven with a metric which is actually very fair. And
it's more for the transaction when it's an entry transaction when they want to get in or get out.
Absolutely. So, even Ramesh, if they want to take a retail finance loan, okay, then even the asset value, if they want to take it against the vehicle and the battery, the data which we maintain on the vehicle and the battery will also help him to get a value for the loan for that. So there's also that, but obviously retail finance play, battery valuation play is 1 year down the line. Initially, I think the play which we're concentrating on is getting these guys on board. Yeah, sorry.
So how is the reception been? I mean, like when you start talking to them, I know a lot of them have been talking about setting up charging stations and battery swap stations. So, but just that the critical mass is not there for anybody to yet, kind of what do you call, capture that market. It's still evolving. So, how has the reception been when you go and tell them, look, I'm offering full battery and battery charged batteries as services?
Okay, we spoke to e-rickshaw guys in the north and we spoke to two-wheeler delivery partners. Of course, we haven't spoken considerably enough to the three-wheeler guys who are actually doing cargo deliveries. Okay, that is something probably our data is still not good. Coming to the two-wheeler guys, because those are guys who I spoke in Hyderabad itself. And thankfully, they have done some trials on electric vehicles for 1 month. Okay, so if you look at, there are two kinds of delivery partners with Zomato, Swiggy, those who are actually delivering on cycles and those who are using petrol bikes. And if you look at the cycle guys, they definitely like this because if you look at the entire cost proposition, right? For a petrol vehicle, the EMI, petrol plus maintenance, because they have, it's pretty high on maintenance because they're doing more than 3,000 kilometers in a month. They need to change the engine oil. It comes to around 10,000 rupees for them for a petrol vehicle, EMI, petrol plus maintenance. If you do the same equivalent math with an electric vehicle, right? In the decoupled model, which we are suggesting, that he pays EMI only for the non-battery part of the vehicle, and plus there's a very small maintenance amount, and plus there's a battery subscription amount which he gives to us. It comes to around 7,000 rupees, 7,000 to 8,000. So straight away there is a clear-cut value add of 2,500 to 3,000. Some of the people with whom the trials have been done, they're very much happy and they want to do it. And we did a small sample survey. I think further surveys are happening. We did for 10 delivery partners. Or the 10 delivery partners, okay, we did a good mix of cycle and people who are using petrol IC engine vehicles. So out of 10, 6 have said that they're very much in favor of buying it, right? But of course, you want to do to 30, 40 and come to a stronger conclusion, because they see that cost value add, and they also see that, hey, the user behavior does not change. The cost value add is there.
And are the EV vehicle manufacturers kind of willing to be your partners? I mean, will they are part of the whole value chain. So they will sell your solution to their customers.
Correct. In fact, if the slides which I've said, should I share the slide? Maybe it's the right time. I know we have.
They will add it later, not to worry, before putting on YouTube.
Okay. So if you look at the slides, right, in the two-wheeler side, obviously we have started talking to people who are not very expensive. Ether Energy and all, they're pretty expensive for the delivery partner to afford, because they come at 1.5 lakhs. We're talking to people who are at the 75,000 to 80,000 bracket. Couple of people with whom we already have an MOU is Ampere, who's a 180 crore turnover company based in Coimbatore. They've been acquired by Greaves. And the other one is Pure EV in Hyderabad, and another IIT Hyderabad startup. I think one of the founders is IIT Hyderabad professor itself.
Yes.
These two guys are pretty much on board. And of course, apart from these, we are reaching out to people like NDS, who is again based in Bangalore. But these two guys are willing to support us with the right vehicle and the right pricing and the right components we need to go into the vehicle. In terms of batteries, again, because there needs to be a tie-up, Ramesh, not just with the electric vehicle manufacturers, but even with the guys who make the batteries, right? So the battery guys are like, we have coordinated tie-ups with people like Signi, again, Hyderabad-based, 120 crore turnover company. Exicom, I'm sure you guys have heard about it. So these two guys, and there are a couple of other R&D level firms in IIT Madras, like Ramesh, you and I both are alum of there. So a lot of interesting work under Professor Junjunwala is happening there. And so a couple of people from there are also there. And so these are guys who are giving us the batteries, because the critical part is we need IoT enabled batteries and IoT enabled vehicles. Okay. So not all EV guys, manufacturers are there yet. Okay. So we have tied up with the people who are there yet and who are also in the price bracket. The people who are expensive, definitely they are there with the IoT enabled batteries and the IoT enabled vehicles. People in this price bracket, there are a few, and we have got good partnerships with them and dealer support. Because really speaking, for the battery part of it, we are going to be paying the money, and we're going to enable this ecosystem for them to scale up.
And that's a standard automotive model anyway. I mean, like most dealers make money out of service, not out of selling the vehicle, out of the services and maintenance and repairs, and that's where they make the money. So they might be open to it. I mean, this is giving them an annuity. It's not a one-time sale. If they are a channel for you and like they get a small referral or commission, it's an annuity for them. They're probably going to be more welcoming anyway.
Absolutely. You're right, Ramesh. I think the battery guys, the vehicle guys are all welcoming. And if you look at the ecosystem enablers, okay, I really look at Zomato, Big Basket, Amazon, Flipkart, Swiggy as enablers for us. Okay. Fortunately, those guys are also very much in favor of this. Like, we are able to get the meetings with the right guys and the pilot information. They have even enabling us by showing us the locations where we can actually set up the bulk charging or the charging infra. They even enabling us by making us meet the relevant or the most hardworking or people with high-ranked delivery partners also, right?
So this, I think it's a fantastic. Like I said, many have been trying this, but I don't think anybody so far. I think the ones that have been trying are the ones making the vehicles.
Exactly.
Making the vehicles, they don't have the critical mass. I mean, so you're kind of almost like a manufacturer neutral. So I think your model is probably more scalable. So, so I'm sure it will do well, and all the best. But before we wrap up, one final thing. From your experiences, both as a tech professional earlier and now as an entrepreneur, one growth hack tip that you will share with other startups.
Okay. Obviously, I think we are not grown that far to give a growth hack tip, but still, Ramesh, I think the key is you never know when the time will actually turn to your side. The key is for you to survive everything. Okay, that's what I believe, and you need to keep pursuing your the high value proposition goal and keep continuously working on it. Take out time, probably 3 to 4 hours in a day, and probably the remaining time you need to figure out how do you keep the ball rolling. Because if you just stick to this, this glorified idea, especially with the COVID happening, the reason why we are able to pursue this, and fortunately the COVID was very good for us because delivery business is actually taking up. So we saw a boon in COVID in terms of demand. But at the same time, on the supply side, like the people who are going to give us the vehicles, or people who are going to give us the batteries, IoT, they're facing some challenges in giving us the components at the right time. So you never know the business environment, and I think you need to be diversified. And as a startup, to survive and grow, you need to have different streams of revenue. And fortunately, we have been doing it from 2018, and that's the reason I think we're still there, and we are able to sustain a team of close to around 10 people, right? So that is really critical, right?
No, absolutely. I think the staying power, you're right. When the opportunity turns, the tide turns and the opportunity comes, you should be around. That's the most important to make. No, it's a fantastic, fantastic thought. So Sravan, thank you so much for joining us today, and all the best. I mean, like, it's again so heartening for us as an incubator to hear that when we did the survey, we should be planning to one more survey now, but when we did the survey 6 weeks back, by then already like almost 40% of the startups that responded said they're looking at better outlook now than they did 2 months back.
Yes.
So much, there was such a pleasant surprise. We were thinking like the whole lockdown and the economic slowdown would have taken a toll on the startups. So nice to see that many startups are like kind of having a slightly better outlook now than they did earlier. And so nice to hear from you as well that the lockdown, the whole surge in deliveries has actually helped your proposition. So all the best, and I'm sure your model will click in the market. All the best, Sravan.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you.
Thank you.